Jamie Corty, lovely to have you. I get asked a lot of questions about the challenge program, and as the challenge director, I would love for you to help me have those conversations. And this, I think, is a great opportunity to tell people today what is the challenge program.
Well, thank you for having me. Happy to talk about the challenge program. So we're that next step from recreation, and we sit right in between recreation and classic. We are the program for players that are looking for more committed space. Just by sheer logistics, you're going to be training twice as much. We share a similar calendar, but what our teams are able to do much more and more frequently is attend tournaments. So you have an element of competition that you may not see in recreation often. But with our space, families are still able to explore other things. So again, we're that very happy medium between recreation and classic. Families can be with us for their entire playing career, or they can use us as a pathway and move on to classic. So we can be both or one or the other, depending on what families are looking for.
Fantastic. And I know, just speaking of that pathway, I'm thinking of one of our recreation administrators, Daniel Ebert. He had a player that was, I think, recreation for a season, then jumped into challenge, did challenge for a year, and is now competing at the classic level. So great example, I think, of the pathway that you talk about. Can you tell me about the challenge player?
Yeah.
What are those kids like?
Yeah, well, I'll start with ages first.
Okay.
Who's eligible for the challenge program? So we are very different from recreation in that we are birth year. So once you leave recreation, every program from challenge up is strictly birth year. So that's a really important difference. So for us, we start at U9. So this year, the U9 birth year is 2016s. Next year, 2017s are going to be eligible all the way through high school. So again, right now is 2006, 2005s.
And then next year, to catch you on that one, next year we mean next fall.
Next fall, yes. Next
it gets confusing.
Full year, yes.
I can understand
yes.
the families why it's challenging.
So we start at U9. Again, it's players that are looking for more time on the field. That's probably the biggest difference is the commitment level. So we're asking our families to commit twice as much, 2 practices a week versus the 1. We're asking them to commit additional time on the weekend for tournaments. And in return, you're going to get really committed coaches that are doing the same. So commitment is the biggest difference, the biggest component that we really want families to be aware of. And with that, the more committed you are, the more opportunity for competition and development. So if you put that into the program, you'll get that back. I'm
going to pick at you with the tournament piece.
Yep.
How many tournaments are they going to? Where are they going? Is it California, Australia? Talk to me about that. Because when I hear that, sometimes if you're from the outside looking, I think that can be a little bit daunting.
Yeah, it can be a little bit scary. Like, wait a second, we're going from no tournaments to now we have to travel and book hotels and rent cars. The great thing about our area is that we have a ton of local tournaments. So families can still have the tournament experience, multiple games, playing for a trophy, which we know it matters for some families. And they don't have to leave. They don't have to leave their home, and they don't have to book hotels. But we also have that experience if families are looking for that, that team bonding experience. They can go to Wilmington. It's just a short drive, or they can go west to Greensboro and Winston-Salem. So a lot of tournaments that are regional. In terms of quantity, it really varies on the team and the age of the team and how long the team has been together. For our younger teams, we don't recommend more than 1 or 2 a season. It can be a lot. For very new teams, maybe it's just 1 a year, just getting acclimated to what it looks like and getting that exposure. But it can change season to season and year to year. It really depends on the coach and the team dynamic. But it's an option there if families are looking for it.
Fantastic. And you talked about those coaches maybe determining those tournaments. Let's dig into the coaches piece, because I know every year we get some really good rec coaches, and then all of a sudden they're moving on their own pathway into challenge, and we've got some fantastic challenge coaches. Who are they, and what are they about?
I mean, a lot of our coaches are your coaches in recreation, and
still, they do both, don't they?
And similar like the players, maybe they're looking for a little bit more commitment too. So they come over to us and they give us twice as much. But I mean, our coach community is really a wide range. We have former players, former coaches. We have parents on teams that have been around the game and are willing to give back. So we have a wide range of who our coaches are, but I can tell you this. Our coaches are incredible. The amount of time and dedication they give our program is truly unmatched. When I talk about our program and what makes our program special, it really starts with the coaches. So a lot of familiar faces from Rec to Challenge, sometimes during both spaces, and sometimes they come over and join us entirely. But yeah, our coaches, again, they can be a lot of different people in our community, not always just parents. They've been around the game and they're just willing to give back and make it fun for the players and families.
Yeah, and the giving back piece, I think of some coaches that maybe started their coaching career in Challenge, and then they maybe move on the pathway into Classic, but then still continue to coach their Challenge
Absolutely.
group because they just love the team and the space that they're operating in.
Yeah, we have a lot of those. And just like the players, our program can be a pathway for them too. So we're happy to move coaches on to other programs if that's what they're looking for. But we're always thrilled when they're willing to stay with us.
Fantastic. So now let's talk about how do I become, if I'm a Challenge family, a recreation family, or just family in any program, wherever, wanting to potentially become a Challenge player and join the Challenge program. How would I do that?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. We'd love to have you in Challenge.
I've been working really hard. I think I'm ready to make that commitment too.
Yeah, we'd love to have you lead a team or 2 or 3. So if you're an interested player and you want to explore the Challenge program, we have 2 tryout cycles. So another big difference is to join our program, you do have to go through a tryout process. And teams and players are selected through that process. So it's not a request. It's not a carpool. It's you're going through this tryout process. We have a tryout coming up. It's our supplemental tryout from fall to spring. This tryout is smaller in numbers because the main objective is to fill rosters from the fall to the spring. We then have a main tryout that's going to be in May and June. This is where we reshuffle a lot of our teams, create new teams, grow the program if the interest is there. And to register for either tryout is you go through an intent to play registration in Playmetrics. So if you're eligible because of your birth year, sign into Playmetrics. You'll see the intent to play for the Challenge program. Our dates and tryouts are posted on our website and they're open right now. So if you're interested in exploring it for the spring, I encourage players to come out and try it. If nothing else, you get to experience what a tryout process looks like. So if you are ready to explore it for next year, you can come out in May and June and you've kind of seen it and been through it.
Fantastic. And when are those dates roughly thinking for the tryouts and supplemental tryouts?
Yeah, so the supplemental tryout is going to be November 23rd and 24th. Okay. So not too far after season
just
ends.
Over a month away. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So if you're thinking about it, reach out to us. Happy to answer any questions and guide them through the process. And then our main tryout after the spring season will be May, June area. Yeah. Dates not yet finalized.
Fantastic. And then you just talked about the supplemental versus the main tryout. Yeah. I think there are some groups. Is it the older boys that are having a main tryout this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what ages are those?
So once you kind of hit the competitive program, so Challenge and above, our high school divisions become single season only. And that's because we want our players to play for their high school team if that's something they're looking to do. So our high school boys will play their main season this spring. They've not been with us in the fall. So those tryouts are November 22nd. Okay. So they're on the front end of the supplemental tryout.
And then the younger age groups outside of high school, that's the supplementals where maybe options are limited, but a great chance to maybe go and experience a tryout. Like you said, play a little bit more.
Exactly. And we'll always grow if the interest is there. But generally speaking, we're using this tryout to fill rosters. And we're going to have a lot of player movement. So players that are interested come out. Chances are we'll have opportunities in all of our age groups in all of our regions.
Fantastic. Well, Jamie, appreciate the time. Appreciate all the work that you do in the Challenge program. I know we have very similar sort of programs in terms of the communities that are built there and the connections that we try to form. I know that you guys do a fantastic job, and I look forward to seeing everyone at tryouts and looking forward to seeing where the program goes moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Thank you. Okay, folks, today we have Etienne Boulanger joining us, Juniors Director. How are you, Etienne? Thank you for joining us.
Good. How are you?
Good. So I have a lot of conversation with recreation families or families that are new to the club about some of the levels above recreation. And I couldn't think of anyone better to tell us about the Juniors program than yourself. So what is it, Etienne? What can you tell these folks?
So the Juniors program is the first competitive program for boys and girls, U8 to U10, and it is a year-round program that starts in August and ends in April.
And so tell me a bit about the training environment. How often do they train? And you said it's year-round, but I know it's as we get to those winter months, things may be a little bit lighter. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. So we train twice a week and play once a week. We start in the beginning of August and finish the fall season in early December. and then we take a little break for the holidays and come back in January. And our spring season is from early January to the end of April.
So then tell me about the juniors players. Who are they? What are they? What motivates them? Are they all super professionals that are going to go on and take over the world from a soccer perspective?
Yeah, so the typical juniors player is someone who has been playing soccer for a little while now and is interested in playing more than just a typical rec schedule, which is less soccer on a weekly basis, but also a shorter season. So we, for the most part, have players that have been playing for a couple of years now, have had success playing the game with their rec team, love the game and want to play more, and are interested in maybe pushing themselves a little bit by working with other players that are similar to their level, but also with coaches that are a little bit more experienced and advanced than the average maybe rec coach.
Fantastic. So talking about the coaches that are working with them, I think that's the difference. Obviously, we Rec and Challenge is a fantastic community of volunteer coaches. As we get into the juniors program, we're working with paid coaches. So who are some of those coaches, and what are they about, and what is it they're trying to do with the players?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's one way to describe the coaching staff. There's obviously different people from different backgrounds and kind of experiences. We've got some folks that have been doing it for a couple decades. We've got some that are very young. But I think for the most part, coaches share a knowledge of the game from having played it themselves when they were young or younger. But also most of them have some coaching experience through either a rec or challenge program or a competitive program, from different areas. There's, most of the coaches have also some sort of background with the U.S. soccer, coaching pathway, and are either working on some of the licenses or have completed some of the licenses over the years.
And then I know they're not just the players aren't just working with, say, one coach. They're obviously overseen by people like yourself. Can you talk about the structures?
Yeah, so a big difference between rec and challenge and juniors is kind of the training environment, where on your rec team and challenge team, for the most part, you get your coach, you get your teammates, you spend the whole season with them.
Mm-hmm.
In juniors, we do things a little bit different, where players will not necessarily always train in their teams, not always play in the same team. It's a little bit more of a group philosophy, where we do a lot of group training. Usually on Mondays, we'll kind of switch up the team so that players have a chance to play with different players, but also a different coach. And then usually the Thursday session is the day that you get to spend time with your team and your teammates and your coach. The other thing that we do a little bit different is that between the fall and the spring season, we'll just switch up the teams.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a chance for us to put players in an environment where they're going to be, challenged, but also have success and have a good time. And it's also a chance for them to get to, have different teammates, meet new people, make new
Mm-hmm.
friends, and maybe work with a different coach that's providing something a little bit different in terms of from their personality or experiences.
Yeah, I think sometimes some young families that can be hard, that sort of change and stuff like that. But I think some of the feedback I've had from people is that they make lots of new friends and they get to deal with the adjusting change of things, right? Being new, different team, different environment, different opportunities, and kids seem to do okay with that. So some great feedback, I think, from that as kids have moved out of juniors into some of the other programs. Tell me a little bit about how somebody would become a juniors player. What is that process?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, the season starts in August and ends in April. So in the spring of 2025, early May, we'll have our annual evaluations, where players from rec or challenge or maybe different clubs will have a chance to come spend a couple of days with us and be evaluated to see if it's a good fit for them. So that's kind of the official way to get in. But we also sometimes have opportunities to bring in kids, during the season, if maybe we have some spots open. We'll have our clinic in November that it's going to be a chance for players to be seen by our staff a little bit, but also a chance for them to just kind of experience the program for a day.
Yeah. So tell me about the clinic. What do they do there? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, the clinic is really just for us to showcase what we do, to bring players from different clubs, different programs to spend a day with us, to come, be a part of a session, to meet some of our staff, to meet some of the current players in some cases, and just to see, is this something that I might be interested in the future?
And how much does it cost?
How much is a clinic?
Yeah.
It's free.
Okay, there you go. Fantastic. So I'm already signing up for that, Etienne. I'll be there. And then is there anything else from a perspective of the juniors program that you think people should need to know?
Yeah, I think, when I speak with families and parents, I think everyone wants the best in their kids, right? They want their kids to be around good people. They want their kids to be around, good coaches and players. So although we are a competitive program, and one of the goals of the program is for players to improve, we also want them to have a good time. We want them to have a good experience, to be around good people and good role models, and we want them to just enjoy the game. The main goal for a U8 juniors player is to want to play juniors again at U9, and I think that's something that we try not to lose sight of, because we want them to improve, but we want them to do it in a fun way.
No, I think that's a really good message. I think sometimes as parents we can try to rush things and get them to the moon as fast as we can, and I think just enjoying the moment and the team and the journey, I think, is really important. So
yeah,
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.